What's going on, guys? My name is sk0ls, and I've been trying to make one final video about the Master Chief Collection for a while, probably for a couple, on and off for a couple months. And every time I get motivated to record, I inevitably get to this part to where I'm just like, fuck it, and I just stop recording. But this video's kind of been standing in the way of me making other content. I've been meaning to be more active for a while, but haven't because this video hasn't come out yet. And I originally had some really grand plans for it. I want to be super in depth and talk about all this stuff, and not really the mechanical stuff like I usually do, but talk about generally what the Master Chief Collection meant and how it's changed the population and all this stuff. But for better or for worse, I'm not motivated to do that because, quite honestly, I don't see the point. And I think that's ultimately where I'm at, is that there's just so much bullshit, both on the game and off the game, through the community, that it just didn't seem like a very worthwhile video to make. But I think the Halo community as a whole right now is definitely in a transition period concerning Halo 5, and I think a lot of people are looking forward to that transition. And I think, regarding MCC, we've really seen the extent of what 343 is prepared to offer as far as patches and updates go. And while I don't know for sure that there are going to be no more patches, it's my expectation, it's what I've come to expect from 343, that I don't believe there are going to be any more coming. And I believe that the versions of the games that we play on the Master Chief Collection now are going to be the versions that we're playing 6 months from now and a year from now. So I think the Master Chief Collection, for a lot of people, myself included in that, is really a closed book, and I think that warrants some sort of a video on my part, just because, fuck it, But like I said, there's not really a whole lot that I want to talk about here. I just think it's worth reiterating one more time that as far as reception, as far as launch, this is without a doubt the worst gaming experience I've ever been involved in. And I think I've said that before, and it's definitely worth reiterating. I think in 20 plus years of gaming, from my first Game Boy when I was 4, I think this is easily the least enjoyable new game purchase I think I've ever had. And that's how the game is going to be remembered as well. And it's not that I believe the game is poor. I think at this point in time, I believe Master Chief Collection as a whole, CE, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 4, I think all the games are in a working state, and I think you're on paper, you're more likely to enjoy yourself from a mechanical and functional standpoint than to not enjoy yourself. And it's not going to be remembered for that. It's going to be remembered for the first 3 months where nothing worked and all the games were absolute fucking train wrecks. And rightfully so. It's just a shame because I look at the progress that the Master Chief Collection's made, and it certainly has made quite a bit. And yes, it's not where I'd like it to be, and I think there's obviously still a lot more that could be done. But I think about where we are now, it's just an absolute shame that this isn't the version of the game that we started out with. Because if the game had released with what we have now on the disc, and we didn't go through all that bullshit and use this as a platform to build a better game, I think the populations across all the games would be much larger, especially Halo 2. I think the community would be a lot more satisfied, and I think, to be honest, this was a really big deal breaker for me concerning Halo 5. At the end of the day, Halo 5 is going to be what it's going to be. And the biggest part of me buying Halo 5 was how 343 recovered from Halo 4 and how they adapted to making something like the Master Chief Collection, and how they paid homage to what I consider to be the foundation for the best Halos, what I consider to be the legacy of this gaming franchise. And for lack of a better term, they shit all over it, and I think that's fairly obvious. It's very obvious to me. And ultimately, more than that, the thing that's the most disconcerting is how 343 has made the community a reflection of self, in a sense. And I think this community has revolved around pillars. It's revolved around the fact that the game matters, and the fact that the game matters, Halo matters, is driven by things like MLG. It's driven by things like really strong montage communities like THF was in 2008, or FB Walshy in like 2010, 2011. There are these hubs that cultivate this idea that Halo is something greater than it is, and that's what made Halo so great. That's what made the golden eras, because people actually cared. And I'm not going to get into the whole paradox of like people want to pretend to care as little as possible, but simultaneously talk about how they need the community to, I'm not going to get into that stuff, but I think 343 has done an exceptionally poor job of trying to cultivate those types of hubs, of showing that support, of showing support for their own game. And I think I obviously feel that a little bit more being a Halo 2 player because, for better or for worse, 343 hates Halo players like me. And I think the legacy of Halo 2 kind of being the stepchild game from Bungie, and I think that's obvious. You go back to when they originally shut it off in April 15, 2010, they had all this stuff like BXR was cheating. In essence, Halo 2 is a game to where it's good by accident, by complete accident, and I think Bungie always really saw it as like I said, like a stepchild or the black sheep of the family, and I think that's carried over to 343. I think 343 looks at it the exact same way that Bungie did, if we're being honest with each other. I get on Halo to break it as much as possible, and I learned through the Master Chief Collection that 343 just flat out doesn't have any respect for players like me. And at the end of the day, it's going to be what it's going to be. I represent maybe 0.0001% of people that play Halo in the grand scheme of things, and so it's to be expected. But I think Halo 2 as a whole, as a general community, has consistently gotten the short end of the stick more times than not, compared to the other games, compared to CE, compared to Halo 3, etc. I think Halo 2 had to overcome the most to get to where it is now, and it certainly has the most to overcome to get into a better state, so to speak. And that's a huge problem because having Halo 2 the way it is, it's really just become this like deja vu state thing where I think back to XBC, and like, for better or for worse, all my content last year in 2014 was Halo 2 propaganda. It's come play Halo. Look how fun Halo 2 is. Get on XBC. I'll help you set it up. That's really what all of my content was, and I don't regret that. I think it was great, and I feel as though I did something positive for a hobby that I care about, for a game that I care about. But I spent a lot of my time trying to get people online, and it's like you have this huge pool of quote unquote Halo 2 players, but no one wants to put the effort in. And I think the Master Chief Collection for me was supposed to erase that effort. It was supposed to be like right there, all you have to do is turn your Xbox on and you're playing Halo 2 again. And so in that regard, I feel as though I've been doing exactly what I have to do on what I had to do on XBC, is like basically beg people to get on. It's like, hey, we running Forest tonight? Oh, I don't know, man. That game's and whether the game is really as broken as people believe it is up for debate. I personally think Halo 2 is fairly playable now, and I think, like I said in the beginning of the video, you're more likely to enjoy it than to not enjoy it. But that was the one thing that I was like, God damn it, like it's going to be so nice to have other people just wanting to play Halo, and we're going to have customs going all the time, and everyone's just going to be so into it, and to not have that, and to never have had that for the entirety of the Master Chief Collection certainly is really frustrating. And you go one step further in that. For me personally, like that's how I play Halo. That's how I've grown to love Halo. That's how I've grown to interact with Halo. Is customs. And that's how XBC worked. That's how my mind has always worked. And for better or for worse, that's not how it happens anymore. That's not what people are interested in. And when it is customs, it's FFA. And I'll play FFA till the day I die. I love midship FFA just as much as the next person. But when you really get down to it, I want to draft teams and play a series. And I want to do that every single day like I did on XBC. And it's obviously wishful thinking on my part. And I know it's not realistic to expect that all the time. But I think the saving grace of Master Chief Collection for a long time for Halo 2 players was that you got to get on and play THC. And by adding Halo 3, not only is Halo 2 getting the short end of the stick again in all aspects of that deal, but you're also cutting off the only means of enjoyment that I really have in this game. And yeah, I play the H2C playlist, and it's a fucking waste of time to me. One, because I don't find it that competitive. I think the game types are shitty. Whenever Foundation SMG starts comes up, that's always what gets voted for some reason. It's just not that enjoyable to me, and that's not even including the fact that the clips there, like I cut stuff out of H2C, but it's nothing I would really include in a major montage. So it seems doubly unproductive to me in that regard. THC was really the last haven that I had, and it was taken from me, from all Halo 2 players, because quote unquote Halo 2 is not important, or Halo 2 is not as great as Halo 3, or whatever the argument may be. I'm not here to argue that, and I'm not here to talk about specifics. The clear thing to make all parties happy was just to have 2 separate playlists, and I didn't see the problem with that, and I still don't see the problem with that. I don't, and it sucks because being the minority in that playlist, excuse me, being the minority in that playlist, we're the ones constantly getting the short end of the stick unless we're searching with a team of 4. So we look like assholes when we dodge. We look like assholes when we don't when we play Halo 3 and we don't do as well, because that's not what we signed up for. And I think that's a really great place to end, is that most of the Master Chief Collection, it's not what I signed up for. And the biggest problem with 343 as a company is that they keep trying to define my experience for me. They tried to do it on Halo 4 for a very long time until I quit that game. And thankfully I found Halo 2 again on XBC, which has been a fucking lifesaver as far as gaming goes. And then you fast forward to MCC, and they're trying to dictate everything I do. Trying to control how I do it, when I do it, who I do it with, even when you consider the Xbox general issues of connectivity and all that. And I think between Microsoft and 343, I really don't feel like an individual. I feel like a consumer, and that's something I've traditionally never felt on Halo. And that's my biggest problem with the game, is because the way I interact on Halo, the way I play Halo, the way I do Halo since I started playing it in 2003, was that it was something I could do and call my own. I could play the way I wanted, and when I started getting more into video making, that's the only thing that's kept me on the game, is the fact that I can include what I want. It doesn't matter. Like, I include fucking shit that no one else would cut, but I include it because I like it. I include music that I want to use. I really feel like that's what makes Halo fun for me, and that's what has always made Halo fun for me, is the fact that I can be creative on my own and make stuff that I personally really enjoy. And I feel like 343, in a sense, is really limiting that freedom that I have always felt has been indicative of what the Halo 2 experience is. And to talk briefly about some other games, I think there aren't all negatives, and I think it's worth mentioning that the CE players did a really remarkable job, in a sense, of separating the 2 games. And I think from day one, the actual CE players, which I learned there's a lot of people who claim to play CE, and then there's actual CE players, and I'll get into that more, but I think they did a really good job of saying, this isn't the OG version, it's not going to be the gold standard, but we can use it as a practice tool, we can use it to get better, we can use it to play when there are no LANs going on, we have a leaderboard, this is important to us in this way, but it's not this, and it's never going to be this OG gold standard LAN version that we still play. And that became really apparent to me when I went to a LAN. I got hit up by a kid I used to play XBC with, and he said, hey, our 4th dropped out, we're in Raleigh, will you come LAN with us? And I wasn't going to, because I was tired and felt like shit, and I went over there because I wanted to help out another Halo player, and I felt like it would be a good opportunity for me to learn more about CE, and I certainly did learn a lot. And I have to say that I was outclassed in every facet of the game. I was outclassed. And I kind of considered myself a Halo, I considered myself a decent Halo CE player, and I got fucking annihilated. And it was a really humbling experience, in the sense that I'm usually the one, when we play THC, or if I'm in customs, or if I'm doing anything on Halo 2, I'm the one saying, this is the strat we should do, this is where you should be, this is where we should all be, this is what you should shoot, call this out, look to your left. I know how to play Halo 2, and I'm the one giving the directives a lot of the time when I play that, because I feel like I know a lot about that. And on Halo C, and at this LAN, it was the exact opposite. I was playing with a really, really talented player, and being the one saying, you missed that kill, and that's why we're down 4 now. You missed that kill, and that's why we're getting spawn killed. You got to clean that up. You can't forget about OS. You can't forget about camo. Camo is the most important. You should have gotten that first. So, and I have to admit, it wasn't the most enjoyable 3 hours of my life by any stretch, not at all. But I think at the core of what I learned more about CE in those 3 hours than I did in 6 months on MCC, and it was a really enjoyable and enlightening experience from that standpoint. I realized after that the way people lean on the way Halo 2 players have leaned on MCC sort of as this crutch and really lost touch with their roots in a sense. It made me a little bit sad, and I'm not saying that as a judgment on anyone. I'm just making more of an observation that the way the Halo CE players dealt with MCC and continued to do their own thing, continued to do their LANs that they do every year. I thought that was really cool, and I think you know, the CE players deserve a shout out because no one watches their fucking streams. No one gives a fuck about CE, and I think everyone should give a fuck about CE. Just from a Halo standpoint, I think you're talking about the most skilled Halo players. You're talking about the most dedicated Halo players, and certainly the most realistic and fucking just awesome dudes all around. So that's really the one, you know, bright spot of the Master Chief Collection is how I've learned much more about CE than I ever knew. And I wouldn't have even had that opportunity to LAN, I don't think, if I didn't get on MCC and learn more about the game to feel comfortable enough to where it's like, fuck it, I'll LAN, you know, because I don't do that shit really. But I'm kind of getting sidetracked here. I think, you know, if you want to, you can get on MCC, but you know, at the end of the day, so much bullshit has happened on this title. So many things have happened on this title that just ruin it. And I think 343 ultimately has done a really good job of shitting all over the legacy of Halo in a lot of ways. And whether by design or by accident, you know, were I a more extreme character, I would tell you that it was done completely on purpose to ruin the legacy of Halo to make way for Halo 5. But I don't really believe that. I think that's just more of an interesting correlation. But you know, I think this past year of Halo can go down as an absolute shit stain on my experience for sure. But you know what? I continue to play Halo 2 because I love Halo 2. You know what I mean? It's my favorite game. So if I have a way to play it, I'm going to play it. And the only thing I can do is learn to adapt and learn to deal with the differences and learn to deal with the lack of registration and learn to deal with shitty connections. And kind of push through that and remake my own experience, because that's a part of having your freedom, is that you dictate your experience, like I was talking about earlier. And there are new things to learn, there are new spawns to learn, there are new strategies to learn. As a player growth thing goes, there's still plenty of room to grow as a Halo 2 player using the Master Chief Collection, and that's certainly something that interests me. And I want to play more, and I want to keep getting better, because I'm obviously not as good as I was on XBC, and I think that's not due to the fundamental differences in the game. I think it's due to the fact that I just don't play very much anymore. Yeah, I mean, I do miss that, because, like, you know, I game to have fun, and I game to not deal with all the bullshit in my life. When I have a shitty fucking day, I turn on my Xbox and I just kind of disappear from all my issues for a couple hours. Like, I got fucking money problems, school problems, social problems, whatever it might be. I can turn on my Xbox and get away for a couple hours. And that was a lot easier on XBC, when you can get on and start running scrims with your team, and you're playing, like, you get on XBC and all of a sudden you get on XBC after, like, I get out of class, or I used to get out of class at like 2 or 3. You can get on XBC, and before I know it, it's fucking midnight and the fucking day is gone, which isn't always a good thing. But there was a playability that defined Halo 2 that is, to be polite, it's much harder to achieve that type of playability on the Master Chief. Holy fuck, 18 minutes, god damn it. This was originally supposed to be like a 5-minute video. I was like, yeah, MCC is not that great, so well, see you later, like, comment, subscribe. But obviously I run over because I found my stride finally. I was trying not to find my stride and found it. But I think I've said pretty much all that needs to be said, and I think the main thing I wanted to talk about that I didn't cover so much was how 343 has really influenced this community in a really negative way, and I think the community is just lost without any standards. The montage community has no standards anymore. They have no central hub for anything. The competitive community is as small as it ever was during Halo 4. You know, you're barely getting 40, 50 teams out to events. Like, I think the Halo community has been lost for a long time. And the Master Chief Collection was a really, really big opportunity to not just get your population back, but to unite your population and help them move in a fucking positive direction. And 343 chose to do none of that. So what can you do? But that being said, there are some really great avenues to explore Halo, and I think there's obviously a lot of great stuff left in this community that's worth holding on to. It just falls in the community to kind of build it, because I think traditionally Halo has let other people do stuff for them, and I think the best example of that is MLG. You look at how, obviously the main problem is the games, but you get past like Reach and Halo 4 as being objectively poor games. The community just fell apart on itself as far as competitive goes without MLG, without having those things. And I was personally kind of hoping that 343 would kind of step in and do a little more with the Master Chief Collection, but what can you do? But I've gone on long enough. I want to start making some more Halo 5 content, kind of talking about my revised thoughts, how I'm feeling about the game now versus how I felt about the game after the beta when I made my beta breakdown. So I look forward to making those things, and I look forward to being more active again. And I'm glad I got this video out of the way. So if you enjoyed it, do your thing. I'm not gonna tell you what to do with your life, but if you liked the video, you probably should just click the like button. But you know what? Actually, don't fucking subscribe. Don't like the video. What you do you do whatever you want to do, and if that includes helping me out, then so be it. But if you want to play the Master Chief Collection, I'm like I said, I'm going to be playing as much Halo 2 as I can, with or without Halo 5. And Halo 5 is not looking too bright for me. So if you ever want to run customs, if you want to run FFAs or matchmaking, please feel free to add me. I run on a couple different tags, but my main tag is sk0ls is lit. So don't hesitate to add me. Always looking for new people to play. Always looking to grow Lost in Time as well. If you haven't checked them out yet, please check them out. There's a link to them in the description. A lot of great stuff on the way, and a lot of great stuff already has come out in my opinion. So if you haven't checked them out, check them out. And as always, have a good day. All that dumb shit that people tell you to do. And I'll see you guys on Halo.